Anyway, so yeah, we got a lot to get into today. A lot of sports to cover, a lot of football, obviously. So we just ain't no sense in wasting time. Let's jump right into it.
Yeah, because we can't do another 2-hour show, though.
Hey man, if the spirit moves us to 2 hours,
exactly
that's what it is.
Right,
you right.
Because
the spirit moved me last week.
Oh yeah, we had to raise your blood pressure. You had to take some.
I'm good.
And I have a feeling we're gonna be on that same train. This
but anyway,
we're gonna be crying. I don't think it's gonna be as bad as it was last show.
Hope not. But anyway, let's get into it slow. What did Lick read, bro?
What the Lick read? Week 18. We had 2 weeks of college football finish and 1 week of NFL. We're gonna jump into the pain first. We're gonna jump into college.
We're gonna open that wound already.
Yeah, we're gonna open that wound. Had a great opening weekend. We had
hey man, are we coming right to Florida State? Can we just talk about other college football?
Okay. We had Alabama face Miami. The first week we had.
Let's talk about that.
It was a lot of good games the first week. Clemson, Georgia.
Hey man, we just discussing games.
Yeah, I wasn't discussing the
no disrespect.
outcome.
Now the Clemson Georgia game, we'll go there. That was
a little unexpected. I don't remember our picks, to be honest with you.
I do.
That was one of our games we picked.
That was one of the games we picked.
I don't quite remember. I know I didn't put Clemson because I don't like them.
Right.
But I was still shocked at how bad they looked. But then I was also surprised at how good Georgia's defense looked.
Right.
I wasn't expecting all that.
At all. Because that defensive front for Georgia really put it on Clemson.
Bro, 99 looked like somebody's grown daddy out there. I think 6'7". It's absurd, bro.
350.
That don't make any sense. Hey, man. Teenagers shouldn't be that big.
He's a senior. I think he came back. He's not.
So maybe 22, 21.
It makes a big difference.
It's still ridiculous.
19-year-old coming in 6'7", 350. We need to talk.
Hey man, I told you my son played against a kid in a baseball game that was 6'4", 285.
The one in Mississippi?
No, he's from New Jersey. I think he committed to Florida State to play baseball and football.
Oh, okay.
No, matter of fact, Ole Miss. My bad.
That's right.
He decided on Ole Miss. But yeah, that kid was 15, the 6'4", 285 on a baseball field, and not sloppy at all. Big boy. But anyway, let's get back to the game.
But yeah, in week 1, we talked about our team, Florida State, played Notre Dame down to the wire, came back, took it to overtime, lost in overtime, which we thought would go into week 2.
I didn't think that. I'm letting it be known. I did not think that.
I did. I figured we hung with Notre Dame.
Because let me explain. Shannon's new, so she don't understand
explain that to me.
The ridiculousness of my fandom. Okay, so for the past couple of years, as sorry as we've been, I still watch Florida State games thinking we should not lose.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
To anybody, no matter
to nobody.
Okay.
So that's what you're dealing with.
I have that. I have that kind of. I don't want to even say faith, but I'm watching with like little kids' eyes, thinking, man, we should win this game.
Yeah.
I have zero expectations for Florida State this year for the first time in my life. I'll be honest. I don't even expect us to win another game this year. I expect us to go 0-10. That's how low I've fallen.
I think they step up based on that competition. That's what they look like to me. Because you stepped up to Notre Dame, you know the bright lights on. It's a night game. It's a Bobby Bowden thing, and you're trying to basically, step up for the moment, for the night.
I'm with you.
So I think that's what I was expecting when I went into week 2. I didn't even really watch that game. I was gone all day, so I was thinking it was just going to translate.
That's what we did in week 2. We played to the level of our competition, and they beat us.
That's how they've been the last couple of seasons too, as well.
It was just ridiculous how usually a school, no offense to Jacksonville State, whoever alumni is, but usually you take their heart out in the first quarter.
And it's over.
And we didn't do it, and they stuck around. They got more confident. Even though when we went up for a little bit, they still was in the game.
I had zero confidence that entire game.
I just want to know how in the hell, with 6 seconds left in the game, right? Jacksonville State used a field goal to tie it, touchdown to win it. They own their own -50, 6 seconds in the game, and we in man coverage.
You asking a former defensive coordinator and a former defensive
That's what
back.
I'm asking both of y'all. I know both of y'all coached on the defensive side of the ball.
First, let's get into Norval's reason for that. He said that because they still had a timeout, he didn't want to give us something underneath, and they possibly be in position to kick the tying field goal.
But so he rather give up the touchdown.
Be
And
what
we
you
didn't
think.
and we didn't even blitz.
Because that to me, that
yeah.
excuse. I mean, I'm trying to give Mike the benefit of the doubt, but that was
No,
horse.
that was-
horse shit.
This
But
game,
they were
That out
going
his
for a
ass.
Hail Mary. Like everybody in their right mind knew that this was just like, let me put my best foot forward, the best effort I could possibly do, and just hope on a wing and a prayer.
right? But it comes down to this. For me, this game is the coaches lost this game.
Easy.
Yeah.
You pissed away a very good defensive effort for what, all of three minutes of the fourth quarter, because the defense stepped up and played pretty good. Offense ain't do shit. You making questionable calls. Like I just don't understand, because I it's taking me back to when Jimbo was coaching, and you have the best running back in the game, and you trying to pass 30, 40 times a game. You got arguably 3 good running backs on your team right now. You got
Corbin's top 20 in the country.
right. You got an
Corbin
offense.
had 100 yards on 12 carries.
You got an offensive line that is way better at run blocking than they are at pass blocking. Why are you trying
Why
to?
are you going to the Wildcat?
Why are you going to the Wildcat? Why are you going to these quick out passes when Mackenzie Milton, he may be able to make the quick decision and know where to go with the ball, but he's shot putting that motherfucker out there, and it does, like that pick he got late in the game. He didn't have enough arm on it.
Let's talk specifically about the last play of the game.
The last play of the game.
You and I have been defensive coaches in the past. Okay, you're offensive coach. I'm gonna let you. Me and my brother gonna have this conversation real quick. You play defensive line. I play defensive back. We both coached the entire defense before. Based on his excuse that we don't want to give up nothing underneath, with 6 seconds left and a timeout, because they had a timeout. For one, even if they got a chunk play, let's say for 27 yards, 25 yards, they got a chunk play for that. We give that up underneath.
That's a 50 yard field goal.
50-yard field goal, and they still got to get that done and call a timeout within 6 seconds.
Right.
Okay. So why are we playing the 2 deep man underneath in that situation? It's a prime example of a horrible call yet last night too with the Raiders, and we'll get into that. It was a similar situation. Why are we playing man-to-man in that situation? I don't care if it's just underneath and we still got 2 deep.
I have no answers for you, because
it makes no sense.
It makes no. It was horrible coaching.
And then you
Makes
don't send a
zero
blitz.
sense.
Not at all.
You don't send a, and then the football IQ that our players don't have. If Brownlee saw that the boy had beat him, grab his jersey, it's on 15 yards,
yeah,
pull him
get back
down,
in
do whatever you got to do. Do not let him get by you
By
as a
you.
corner.
So,
That is your responsibility. If you're up in man coverage, even if you got over the top help, your job in that situation is not to allow that man to get behind you. And if he does, like you said, pull him down.
so is that something that you all speak to when you're in the huddle? Like they had
You're
a
supposed
timeout
to.
before they even switched
We
out.
don't
on
even
the
need to
field.
get. We don't even need to get in the huddle. We know that from our weeks of preparation prior to getting in that situation. That if we're in this type of situation, this is what we do.
We're not going to be a man anyway.
I knew that playing man in high school. So how the individuals did not know that in college, I don't know. But it, like B said, it goes back to the coach. The coach has to put you in position to be successful. If they don't do that, they own the responsibility for that loss.
So for me, is even if they know that, why not remind them of that when you're in the midst of that? So when they had time to switch out, look, we already know they only have 6 seconds because there was a timeout that was done before they even came back
Right,
on the
'cause it was
field.
4th and 10.
Changing the
Yeah.
field. Why not reiterate that? Just assuming that they're going to have the football IQ to know this. They're in high school. You constantly get on them about penalties. So a lot of times, sometimes that can play in their mind. Why not just remind them and reiterate? We could take them to allow them to get anything in front of us. Just don't let us get behind.
That's why they should have never been in man.
I wouldn't doubt. I would not doubt that wasn't.
defense.
I
Anyway.
agree.
I wouldn't doubt that wasn't part of the conversation. I wouldn't doubt it. They still got to execute. However, they weren't put in position to execute properly. They should have been 4 deep.
Absolutely.
Everybody
At a
shared
minimum,
touchdown
at a minimum,
to beat
3 deep,
at the
Right.
very minimum.
and you
But they
rushing 3.
But they could have put 4 and still blitz.
Right.
Okay, they could have rushed 4 and still blitz. Still had a blitz call and still had enough back there to prevent them from getting in the end zone. Because 2 men trying to split half the field,
Right.
and you already make a beeline to the sideline to get to the after catches the ball. my niece can cut back across the middle and beat you to the end zone.
Yeah.
So it was depressing to watch.
And it was depressing on the touchdown before when the safety went with the inside guy and left it. No, he went with the outside guy, left the inside guy wide open. Like, what are y'all doing in practice?
It's coaching, and it's also just individual instincts and knowledge of the game. Like I say this a lot. Me and my homeboy Dak, who is just getting over COVID, but I'm sure he's gonna chime in, and hopefully, if he's awake, he'll chime in just a little bit. I talk with him a lot about there's one thing to watch football. There's another thing to know football.
Right.
Like there's a lot of people who watch football and think they can talk about it. It's one thing to know the game, no leverage, no angles, no strategy, stuff like that. You understand? A lot of people, unfortunately, even guys who've played for a long time, still don't really know the game.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's easy for people like us to sit back and watch because we know the game, but not everybody does. Even people in positions to make money off the game don't always know the game. So a lot of people want to blame the defensive coordinator. He's got some blame. The offensive coordinator got some too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Offense, like you said, did nothing.
I don't know if Dillingham was calling the plays or Norvell's calling the plays. Norvell's offensive-minded coach, but Dillingham is the OC. But we know in situations where the head coach overrules everything, so we don't know. But the play calling and the defensive coordinator Fuller, he had to take some blame because for one, even though they played a good game defensively, we couldn't get off the field on third down.
Could not.
3rd and 30.
Too many penalties.
Wow.
We letting them. Yeah, too many dumb penalties.
And I think the penalty that had the helmet to helmet late.
Yes.
He lunged into him. That really hurt because it actually put them in actual position to where
and that was third down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, these kids, they gotta know you can't lead with the head. You can't.
This I know for me, and because I'm done. Like I would usually watch the podcast and look at the reports and stuff.
Nah,
I ain't watching.
I ain't on that shit, man, because it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And for one, they either gonna show up against Wake Forest or they gonna lay down. If they don't win this game Saturday, it's gonna be a very long season.
I'll be honest, I don't expect them to win.
I expect them to show up and at least really put forth the best effort. I really think they're probably gonna pull it off just because they're so embarrassed. You know how much backlash they received?
That's amicable.
Like you paid somebody $400,000 to come in here to beat me? Like, no, I really think they'll step up.
And they planted their flag on the Indian. We couldn't do nothing about it.
Couldn't do nothing about it. Same thing with your boy Chubb. Scratched up the logo a couple years ago. When North Carolina beats with the field goal and the field kicker runs off the field doing this like this.
That's why your expectations are in
the trash.
Okay.
Last year was the first year I ever turned off Florida State game without watching the whole thing. I predict I'm gonna do it several times.
I can't do it. I still watch it. I just can't do it.
I'm with you, B, but I did turn.
Last year I turned a few games off.
Game last year I was like, I can't watch.
I turned a few
Wait a
games
minute,
off.
you right. Halftime in Miami.
Yeah.
Look,
and we had plans to go to a game this year. I'm not going. I'm sorry.
So I'm not even, to be honest, like I watch the games differently. Even when it's against, like when I watched Florida State game, I came home. I knew Miami had just barely squeaked by winning.
But you won.
I get it. Yeah. But nonetheless, that wasn't even the best effort. However, when I came home and I watched the game and I'm sitting up here, I'm like, okay, Florida State got this. It's 10 minutes. They're up by 10. They still got about 5 minutes left. Yeah. I sat up there and watched the whole game. And when I promise you, I bust out screaming like, oh my God, like in disbelief. I look worse than the cheerleaders that was walking off that field because Buddy's
face was
pretty sad.
I think me and my mom, like my sisters, we all watch sports. So we were all texting like, did you see that? Like,
I think we might have some Canes fans in the audience at home looking at you kind of sideways though, Shannon. Because they probably be like, why the hell would she give a damn about Florida State losing the game?
Because I watch all the games. I watch everything. I watch how the ACC look. Period.
True.
That's why I brought her on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna watch.
She knows sport.
It's commendable at the same time. If I'm watching Miami, I'm hoping they lose.
I mean, I'm
watching Florida.
I
hope they lose.
Look, I'm not saying that. Like, I want them to be in prime condition when they come see my team.
Nah,
I always do. I don't want you to come because This little loss right
I
here
want
be a
y'all to
little
come in with y'all's
motivation.
fourth.
This be a
I
little
want y'all to come in with y'all's fourth
No.
quarterback. I want Manny Diaz to get COVID the day
Don't
before the
even
game.
do that. Don't do that.
I want y'all to be limping into the game.
Don't get me wrong. Don't think that I was saying, "Oh yeah, let them win." I was more shocked at the fact, like, "Oh my goodness, not today, not tonight."
This is
that
how you lost.
How did you feel watching Alabama?
So for me, it was just kind of like a measuring stick. Like those kids were so hyped. First, Derek King made me mad because you feel, oh yeah, we definitely. And I'm like, dude, we're not there yet. We're not there.
Okay,
yet.
I was going to ask you,
So
were
that
you
was
one of
my
those
mind.
fans?
That little nigga was.
A lot of Miami fans were starting.
No, I'm a realistic fan. Like I love Miami, like
Right.
through and through. All my teams are green and orange. Like I'm a Miami FAMU, so I can afford to go to Miami.
All right,
but could go to FAMU. So that's how I operate. But watching that game against Alabama, I was like, yeah, this ain't it. This ain't it.
Bad.
And I'm okay with that and understanding that because I can go in and be a little bit realistic about
That's good. I'm glad you're not one of them. The U is back type of folks.
They would need Ray to come. Ray,
they need Mike hates this chick.
They need Ed Reed to get dressed instead of being on the sideline for them to get back. Like that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, Reed was holding his head down.
But then again, in Miami's defense, Alabama
is Alabama.
I understand that.
Did you just say in their defense?
I understand Alabama
because the measuring stick. I mean, Alabama.
Who they playing?
Alabama is going to be the national champion this year.
Playing Alabama, dog.
Look how
I would never say in Miami's defense.
I'm just saying.
To be honest, I think we would have beat Notre Dame. Let's keep it 100.
I mean,
I believe that
Notre Dame is perennial.
But they're part of
the perennial overrated team in college football.
I agree. Along with Michigan, to me, like they always used to throw them up that like it's
every single year.
That.
So to me, beating Notre Dame, even if we beat Notre Dame, I'd have been like, it's Notre Dame. Like I'll be honest with you, even if we'd have won that game, which we should have, I would have said it's Notre Dame.
But we talk about the Hurricanes playing Appalachian State. Appalachian State is what before they came to the Sun Belt, they were perennial playoff teams. Winning in the FCS level.
Yeah.
So for me, this game, I wasn't surprised that it was I was surprised that it was close and they barely pulled it out. But I wasn't surprised that they gave them a good game.
I was expecting a good game. Why? They've upset people who have been in the top 20. Right. This ain't the first rodeo of the top 25 for them.
No,
like, let's not play.
Yeah, I don't want to get on here defending Miami, but at the same time, that's Miami though. Like even if they get like the second tier recruits out of the city, Appalachian State should not give them a game.
No,
they should.
Things have changed, man.
Yeah,
things have changed. Recruiting has changed. Things have changed. Miami's they're not keeping them boys home.
I know
we're not keeping that.
I know they're not. And that's part of our problem in the state is we don't keep our boys home. I mean, I get that.
The best going to Nick Saban.
They're going to Nick Saban, and the reason why is because I was reading. I think it was an article in one of the newspapers down south, and they were saying what happened and what changed back in the 80s and the 90s. They couldn't travel like they travel now. They didn't have access to look at these schools virtually and do all stuff like that. So all they saw was Miami. All they was able to see was Florida and Florida State. So they kept all the best talent in the state. Now they can go to Oklahoma.
I think a lot of pride went into that too. Like a lot of these kids wanted to stay home because we had more. I feel like we had more pride for our big three and wanting them to stay on top as opposed to they do now. Now they can care less.
I don't know because you think about that run, Miami. 80s, FSU 90s, Florida.
Don't say 2000s. They had like a couple year run.
I mean, but from
they were solid.
They were solid in the 90s because they were in there in the 90s with us.
They were. They disappointed me in 96.
They had a backup the Zook years. Those two Zook years, and then Urban Meyer comes in mid 2000s. Florida was Florida.
Yeah.
Then we come back. So that was a hell of a run to showcase these schools and these kids and these boys, these Florida kids seeing, well, these schools still kind of running it. After Florida State, that 2013 loss, or 2013, after they won that championship and they lost in 2014, you can kind of see the tide turning because Florida was down for a little bit till Muschamp came in. Miami never really came back. We started, Jimbo had his eyes somewhere else, and Florida State started tailing off. And Nick Saban, all these other schools, Oklahoma, Ohio State, come in and start Clemson.
I think a lot of that started before that.
I was going to say before that.
It did. Started before that.
With Urban Myers being at Florida, he had already dabbled in our pool already, so that just went to Ohio State.
Well, we know that just from us locally, we know that during Urban Meyer's run at Florida, Armwood had a pipeline to Gainesville. The Dreadnoughts had a pipeline to Gainesville. So they were getting, and during that same run, Jimbo was stealing folks from Miami. Stole Dalvin out of Miami. Stole several players. Rashad Green. So stole them out of South Florida. So that run kind of started from our kids at home. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Jameis came from Alabama, but for the most part, that run started from our kids staying home and playing home. So they were still in few players here and there to go to schools like Louisville and LSU and places like that. But it wasn't like it is now, to where a lot of our top players in the state, they're not even. Yeah, they may have one or two of the big three in their top 5 or top 10 or whatever, but for the most part, they want to leave. You know what I'm saying? And it's odd to me, like I said, when we grew up in our area, everybody stayed home. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and then too, the article did touch on as well, and I wish I saved it, but it touched on too about the it became an arms race. The same thing Jimbo was hollering about, like our facilities are not up to par. Miami's facilities are not up to par. UF started to upgrade their stuff.
The reason that is because the old money that's in Florida is not Floridian old money, if that makes sense. Like, you go to Alabama, that's old Alabama money. You know what I'm saying? Them folks have been in Alabama for years. That's their old money.
Well,
Same thing in South Georgia.
They don't have protein. So
all of our old money came from up north. They could care less about University of Miami, Florida State, or they don't care about that money is not being funneled into our schools like it is in Texas. How the old money goes to Texas A&M and UT. And like I said, all the money goes to either Alabama, and Auburn gets a little bit that's left over. Georgia gets all the money in South Georgia. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they're able to have those facilities and we don't, because all of that old money, like you said, Alabama don't have a protein. No. But people will go to jail over Alabama. Y'all see the about the old boy who poisoned the tree in Auburn? My man went to jail and even told the judge, roll tide. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a big difference in the support that those schools have compared to our big three.
But the facilities thing is overrated because Alabama don't have great facilities. Alabama don't have the flashy uniforms.
They have great amenities.
They don't have we gonna black out and all that. We gonna wear but white pants. Black shoes, and we gonna beat y'all.
I understand that, but Saban has a machine going. Like Saban can come in and say, "I put this guy in the pro." That Ajayi Hall, one of the best receivers we've seen come out of high school here last couple of years, right? Shows out in the spring, Alabama spring game, can't even get on the field. Maybe about 4 or 5 plays.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because Nick Saban has built a machine in Alabama. So they may not have the best facilities, but they're not Florida State bad. They're not Miami bad. They're not some of these other smaller schools bad. And Nick Saban can say, look, here's my product. I've done this.
And there's nothing another coach can say about that.
Cannot.
You can't say nothing
about that. The only other
that.
Coach that can say something about that is coaching the Jaguars right now.
Because when I was watching the Miami game, I was like, we all know Alabama lost a lot to pro football,
man,
and they didn't look like they missed.
They had Miami looking like a JV.
Then they was so violent.
And they would have had Florida State look like an elementary school.
You right?
Yeah.
So
that's why.
Y'all ain't gonna be throwing these jabs at my team.
We both suck. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, but y'all suck more than us right now.
Yeah,
if there's a level of suckdom,
y'all would be in the bottom.
We suck more than y'all do.
Yeah.
We better than USF though.
That ain't saying much of nothing.
I don't know. I might be scared.
The only leg we got to stand on is that we have won in the 21st century. That's the only leg we got to stand on.
Let's stay on.
We have won within the last 10 years.
So what were you gonna say about because we're going off this tangent on this FSU.
We ain't even talking about NFL football yet.
Yeah,
let's get into that.
Well, before we wrap up, we did have a big upset. Yeah, Oregon going into Ohio State.
I enjoyed
Was that big though?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Let me say why I don't think it's all that big. Because to me, any upsets that happen like within the first 3 weeks, to me, everybody is still trying to feel like who they are. Like Ohio State had a rookie quarterback in a sense.
But I still, it was big because Oregon was missing 3 of their top
in Ohio State,
and they've never beat.
I know they'd never beat them before. I know they have, and it was huge that they went to Columbus to beat them. I get that. At the same time, like I said, I don't hold a lot of weight in these early week upset.
I
Not a
mean,
whole lot of weight.
saying.
And
I
Clemson
get what you're
losing to Georgia because it was game one. You know what I'm saying? And you can game plan all you want. You have no idea they had no idea what Georgia's bringing to the table this year. You know what I'm saying? So, and the same thing with Ohio State. Yeah, they probably watched Oregon film last week, but it didn't matter when they. You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna play up to the level of competition when they got to Columbus. So I don't give it a whole lot of weight. It was great for their program.
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna turn around and then say, okay, now Ohio State, they're not gonna make it to the playoffs.
no,
No.
because
They can run the rest of the table, and that loss to Oregon
because the conference
don't mean
is
nothing.
garbage. So,
Especially if Oregon runs the table, that loss to Oregon is not gonna look all that bad. Now, if Oregon goes out and gets their ass beat by Washington or Utah State or some shit like that, yeah, then that'll be a different story. But if Oregon was to run the table and Ohio State runs the table, then is that loss that big of a deal?
No, but I get where you're coming from in that regard. When these lost early in the season, you can kind of take that and bounce back because it's still several weeks left.
Yeah.
If it happened later in the season, then that's a different conversation.
It depends on your schedule, though.
Right, and this the NCAA is different than the NFL. NFL, you can go 2-2 the first 4 games of the season in the NFL and still make the playoffs and still go win a Super Bowl.
Right.
You lose 2 games in the NCAA, you can hang it up.
It's over.
You can hang it up. If you're not in the SEC and you lose 2 games, you can hang it up.
Yeah, anybody outside the SEC lose 2 games, it's over. But I think we're going to see when Texas and Oklahoma get to the SEC, we're going to see a 2-loss SEC team. In the playoffs.
Most definitely.
Mark it down.
That's where they're setting it up.
Oh, they're going to open it up then. They're going to have to. They're gonna
Otherwise, we'll see 4 SEC teams in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
All right, and to wrap up the college play, USC fired their coach after 2 weeks.
Get up out of here. Well, it was 2 weeks of the season. He's been there already.
Yeah,
but he had 21 wins in 2 seasons, so
he was 1-1.
Yeah,
that's 8 seasons. Huh? Someone said how long was it? 8 years?
No,
he ain't been there that long.
8 years. No,
it wouldn't have been that long.
But something
maybe 4 or 5.
That tells me something internally. Something is fishy going on. Will you fire your coach after 2?
That's been like that.
Yeah, USC has full of drama.
been in disarray since they had to fire Lane and told him you can't even get on the plane with us.
Yeah.
And then
Sark drank himself.
Yeah, he drank himself out.
I will be careful with USC now because the NIL stuff, they can now start paying players.
Yeah.
And the I don't know if it was the AD or somebody in a letter said that they're gonna put all their resources behind the football program. Give it 2-3 years, get the right coach in there.
Oh yeah, USC will be back now. They got a local product, little Mike Trigg, that's gonna be a star there in the next couple of years. So they got some talent. They've recruited well the last couple of years. If they get the right coach, yeah, we'll be talking about USC in a couple of years being in the playoffs.
I think the NIL stuff, them being able to make money off their name in LA, in that market with the alumni and the boosters and stuff, that's probably now going to be pushing to get them back to national prominence.
Man. Mike, you better get little Mike hooked up now and get him some money out there.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Mike Trigg on a Conan's barbecue, homeboy of ours.
What up?
You better get little Mike out a deal now. Let's do it. Alabama doesn't that Oregon Ducks connection with the gear. I'm assuming that means that Alabama doesn't have that same connection to the gear.
Alabama is on the Nike.
They
Nick
can
Saban
Nick Saban don't want
that.
Well, Phil Knight did go to Oregon. So
yeah,
they get hooked up.
Yeah, Oregon gets up more.
Right.
Oregon goes to
Alabama. Multiple uniforms,
right?
Because you're contracted with that company.
They could if they wanted to. They don't want to.
They introduced some kind of special uniform a few years ago. Nick Saban said no.
I don't blame them though. Alabama would look weird in a different uniform.
Let us see it at least.
Maybe because I'm old.
Right, put all crimson on, man. Put some crimson pants on.
But that's just
at
least at a minimum. Can we do that?
Yeah.
But that's just like before we move on, we all are part of the Twitter Florida State fan base, and people be crying about the uniform.
I ain't gonna lie, I hate our uniforms.
But I'm just like,
play better.
Man, let's win the game.
Win the games first before you start.
That's why I don't want to hear nobody talking about Miami, Florida. I don't want. We should be silent.
Man, you got to understand, man. You talking to a dude who used to watch Deion highlights before every game in high school. I'm a firm believer in you look good, you play good.
That's true.
I mean, but they looking like crap right now.
Yeah,
and they playing like crap. So play better first, then start looking good.
Word up.
Anyway, what's
all right? NFL Week 1 is down the drain after last night's exciting game between Baltimore and the Raiders, but. It was a few You don't want to call them upsets, but there was some surprises in week one.
Let's
There's
talk
definitely a
about
couple good games.
let's talk about the first surprise. Then.
What?
What's that?
Tennessee.
Yeah,
Yes.
Tennessee and
Tennessee
Laid
the
a
Arizona.
Cardinals.
fucking egg. An egg. And I picked them.
That badass
feel
look,
bad, I
that,
picked them.
that little
Who didn't?
badass kid was running around
That
there.
little badass kid's the truth.
So they-
Somebody said today, I'm gonna ask y'all opinion. Somebody said today that little badass kid is better than Lamar. What y'all think?
No.
Nah.
pass
No.
along.
It's an
It's
argument.
about,
You can
passing
argue it
wise
now.
about the same. I mean,
You can argue it now.
they got both got
That
arms.
badass kid might have the edge.
For those who don't know, the badass kid
Y'all know who the badass kid
is
is?
Kyler Murray.
Kyler
Yeah.
Murray.
Don't he run like a little badass kid?
Yeah, and because he's the smallest thing out there.
Right.
That part I can give a bit of elusiveness to it because he's
Like he
short.
running-
You can't see him behind the
He
line.
like he running from whooping every
But
time.
I'm not gonna give him better than Lamar. If I had to pick the two.
I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
I don't know about
If you'd asked me that last year, I'd been like, nah. But
And
I
I'm
don't know.
and I'm not
Lamar
saying
Lamar
nah.
looked great last night.
Yeah.
Throwing the ball, Lamar looked fantastic.
He looked.
last night.
Oh,
made
he
the
was running
mistake
for his
at the
life.
end.
He was.
He was
And
running
I was
for-
halfway asleep too. But the few parts that I saw, Lamar looked really good last
He made some good throws. He made some.
He made
He
some
made some
mistakes
bad. He made
by
some
not
bad mistakes.
protecting
Too.
the ball
Yeah.
at the end.
Right.
Yeah. Why am I talking about this fumble?
Yeah.
I did
But
see
the
that.
offensive line, that I think last night they kind of got away from really running the ball
Mhm.
because the guy that was starting, I forgot his name. He was doing real
34?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked him up in fantasy.
He looked a little light in the
great for
ass,
me.
but he was running that.
He was
Yeah.
running it.
Yeah.
And then Latavius Murray was giving
I saw he
him
came in.
enough
Yeah.
to spell him, and they got away from the run game. I think
I think they're gonna. I think Baltimore, even though they lost, I think they're gonna be all right.
this is
Yeah,
one.
they will.
This is one of those like the NFL. You can say, okay, week one, you take a loss like that,
Yeah.
you can bounce back. Cool. You come back, you figure out what you did, what you
Right.
did, and you move on from there.
And it wasn't that much that they screwed up to
Right.
lose that game. Like
It
I
was-
said, Lamar's 2 fumbles, and then the stupidity of being in man-to-man in a bunch set.
Well, at least they did blitz.
It doesn't matter. Again, I'm gonna talk to you because we two defensive-minded people here. Why? And while we in man-to-man on a bunch set, mind you, you know what a bunch is.
Yeah.
Everybody's packed in here together. And when I'm right up, Marlon Humphrey was right up on the dude who scored the touchdown. For what? You, as a defensive back, you know, if they're in a bunch, fine. You stay in that bunch. We can zone y'all. At least for the first 5 seconds, first 2 seconds of the snap. Because I can't be in here and play man with you when all you got to do is crisscross, and now we knock each other off the route.
Yeah.
It makes no sense for me to be up on the line and man-to-man coverage in a bunch set when we're all packed in here together. I can't stay with you. I don't care how good I am. Deion Sanders couldn't stay with that dude.
But
After
Deion
getting
would've held
kicked.
him. He would've just took the pass
So that
interference.
made
Yeah,
that
you
was
gotta
another,
be
another
Yes, it
stupid defensive call, in my opinion, for John Harbaugh to even sign off on that as he's a defensive coach. Like that didn't make any sense to me. And Marlon Humphrey knew as soon as the dude rubbed him and got loose because he stopped running. Like he's gonna score. There's nothing I can do about it. That was so stupid to me. Back up, let them run whatever crisscross they're gonna run, and you pick up somebody and run down the field.
I pulled one of your moves. I went to sleep by 10:30.
I mean,
Man,
the
that game
iPad
was
was in
good.
front of my face, and I was like this, and I woke up, and the game was over.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they went to overtime.
I didn't
Oh,
even know
man,
that till
okay.
this morning.
Yeah.
It was a good game though.
It was a good
Yeah.
game
It was
for
a good
Doug
game.
from my side.
It put a cap on the first week for me.
I tell you who surprised me. We can go ahead and talk about y'all's Bucks. Dallas Cowboys offense looked pretty good, and that's the first time. That's the first time I ever seen. What's my boy? What's the defense? I don't block. The
Dak.
defense coordinator for Tampa.
Todd Bowles.
Tabo.
Todd Bowles was. I'd never seen him frustrated.
First off, he shouldn't have had them in a zone.
He was
He was
frustrated.
getting the reason why he was frustrated. You had Jamel Dean on him in a zone.
Well, you know why they gotta play zone because Bucks defensive backs and shit.
I
Well,
can
no,
agree with
I mean,
that, but
they
it wasn't.
like
You
two,
hadn't even
like you had like 2 people out though.
yeah.
2 you started
They
out.
could have had everybody in.
But still,
They don't have 2 corners that's
I
gonna
think
stay
they
with
stayed in
Cooper
zone too long.
and CeeDee Lamb. They don't have 2 corners that can stay with CeeDee Lamb and Cooper man to man. They don't.
They
And
ain't
then
gonna
you
get
didn't
it.
get no up front pressure on Dak. Dak had all day.
Dak had all day, and that was missing his best offensive lineman. So the Dallas offense, and I'm not a Cowboys fan by no means,
So for me, when
but
we
they
went-
looked really good.
So for us, we were at the game, so we
Mhm.
got like took in a whole ambiance of everything. And that
Yeah.
probably, I'll be honest, that was probably the best game I've been to,
Mhm.
and we've had tickets for like 6 years.
Mhm.
Dak did look amazing when he came in. I still think you missed out on things where like Ezekiel wasn't even in the he didn't have any touches.
And that's what I'm saying. Imagine if he did.
But if he didn't, you may have a different game though.
Probably
the Bucks
because if he's taking away those carries, you won't have that.
Yeah, but the Bucks
plus that was played from behind.
Chuck, can we talk about Tom Brady?
We're
gonna get to it, partner.
The Bucks defense, run defense is one of the best. So even with Dak probably can. I think they would have had to do. That's why they switched to the game plan from trying to run Zeke and Pollard to throwing those quick out passes and getting the ball out of Dak's hand early to kind of soften that defense up.
I still think that zone hurt.
Yeah, when Murphy Button went down and then somebody else go down, the boy was hurt before the game. Whitehead. When they was out and they put Jamel Dean on the island, it was over with.
What did they say happened to Murphy Button?
Dislocated.
Okay.
So he's out for like 6 weeks or something.
I knew something was either broke or fractured the way they was.
But I mean, as much respect I give him because he's a decent corner. The Bucks don't have two corners that can stay with Cooper and CD1. They just don't. They had to stay. They had to play zone. They had to.
Not for the extent that they were playing it. There were some things I think he should have switched it up because you have Cooper and you also have CeeDee Lamb. They do that thing, don't get me wrong, but their offense is no more potent than you had Kansas City.
You can only do that when you're getting pressure on the quarterback. When you're not getting no pressure on the quarterback, we can't go man to man because we will get eaten alive in that backfield. This is coming from a former defensive back. Trust me. If we're not getting pressure on the quarterback, you better keep us in zone before we get embarrassed out here. My mom was watching this game. Like, we better stay in this zone so I can stay in front so I can keep this man in front of me because it's just not going to happen if we don't get pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, the thing with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, y'all was coming off the end and they ain't have no tackles. And he stayed under pressure. So
every time he dropped
back.
But
even in the first game when they played Patrick Mahomes, that second half, they didn't just outscore us the second half. The first half, they lit it up.
Yeah.
So by the second time when you see them again, it was a different story. They made the adjustment.
But yeah, Dallas surprised me as offensively as well as they played. They did surprise me.
I don't know what the rest of the Bucks schedule looks like. As far as offenses they concerned. I know they have a pretty weak schedule because they ain't win the division. So I know their schedule's gonna be pretty weak. I don't know what kind of offenses they're gonna face, but I would have some level of concern defensively.
I'm gonna tell you
with how the Cowboys kind of did what they wanted to do.
So for me, it's the NFL. Bruce Arians doesn't play starters a lot during the preseason. My take, like yours, is kind of on the NCAA, how you wait a couple of games to see how teams are, who they are. I always wait to the first 4 games of the NFL season before I say this is who they are, this is how they play. Because somebody was asking me last year, what do you think about the Bucks? What do you think about the Bucks? I was like, I need to see a couple more games. It was like after 2 games, I was like, I don't know, let me see how they are. So that's how like this first game. The next game they got the Falcons, so they can come out and wear the Falcons out.
Well, I can play quarterback against the Falcons.
But by the 4th game, you should know who this team is, how they are, and what you can kind of expect the rest of the season.
It's going to be hard to figure out who this team is. Because like you said, they're not really going to play anybody that's worth a damn because they didn't win the division. Their schedule's not that tough.
It don't matter. I don't go ahead, Shannon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's any given Sunday for me, and I feel like that they're all professionals. You all getting paid millions of dollars to do what you love. So it's any given Sunday. I think that, like you said, I think I can't base what my team is going to look like off of what they look like in week 1. I feel like Aaron Rodgers. This is only 1 week. This is only week 1.
No, they need to.
Now they have a different issue.
They need to.
However, we didn't play none of our start. Like they didn't. They barely played in the preseason. Yeah. So therefore, they were rusty. This is the real first offense that you really saw that was really doing whatever they want to. Heck, the preseason game against Tennessee, they didn't play anybody. But in that practice, when we went to go see them, the practice looked better than the game. Yeah. So I just think that it's just gonna have to take them a little time. I don't think that they'll be. I'm not in a panic mode. This is week 1.
I'm not saying you should panic, but you may raise your eyebrow or one of them.
But I'll be honest, I sat there the coolest I've ever sat with 2 minutes left in the game than I've sat in 6 years.
Because Tom Brady?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Tom Brady.
What's the next topic? Don't we have another topic in
Nah, get on old Tom. Get on old Tom.
We're going to get on him.
Get on old Tom.
What's our other topic for what we is it? I know we had the NCAA preview and NFL preview. Do we want to talk about
we're going to talk about that list.
The list?
Before we get off the NFL,
his ass with that list.
Our boy Jay Boo showed out. And I think, I think the Saints going to be way better than people thought they're going to be.
They're gonna be a lot better.
Yeah. So,
Because they have an element that they didn't have last couple of years.
right.
What's that?
Going deep. Drew Brees wasn't throwing the ball more
Drew
than 40.
Brees was done.
Over
Jameis
35
basically
yards.
threw it to him.
He wasn't throwing the ball over 35 yards last year.
Oh, that's true.
So obviously
I don't
Jameis can.
I'm still on the fence with them because they are in our division. Not that and before James even got there, I was not a Saints fan. I don't really care for them like that. But I just think it's gonna look a little different. Is he really gonna get all these snaps when he does turn the ball over? I hope he is in a better space when he's making better decisions because he did display that on Sunday. I hadn't seen that in 6 years, so I was really impressed with him. Honestly.
Well, they kept him to 20 attempts.
Gotcha.
And I think
got the running game.
I think that's gonna be the model for the rest of the season.
Right.
Okay.
But that harkens back to what we as Florida State fans know. When you surround Jameis with the offensive line is great.
Yeah.
The tackles made the Pro Bowl, all pro. You got Alvin Kamara, one of the best running backs in the league. Your receiving core is kind of iffy because Michael Thomas is out.
Right.
And the defense kind of started playing pretty decent.
They were a top 5 defense.
Right. So you have a defense that is playing. So all you have to, I think that year sitting behind Drew Brees did Jameis some good. So you can sit here and you can see how he goes, see how he plays, and it's like, okay. And he's even said it. Before I would try to make something happen. Mm-hmm. Now it's probably been beat into his head. Check it down or throw it away.
It's okay to punt on something.
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
So even in Florida State, they had one of the best defenses ever. They had one of the best offensive lines because all of them damn near got drafted. You had 2 of the best running backs. So when you surround Jameis with that type of talent, it's hard for him not to succeed.
It is not just the talent; it's also the game plan.
It's all the game plan, right?
Because we know from his second year at Florida State, he forced a lot that second year as well because he felt like he had to do too much. Okay, I feel like the entire time he was with the Bucs, at least his last couple of seasons, he thought he had to do too much.
But I'm trying to figure out how was he doing so much when one season he didn't even play for the first 4 games or so, 4 or 5. Well, and you had a backup having success doing the same thing. So I agree with you having a coach around him that knows how to keep him within the system.
You talking about last year when he was with the Saints?
No, I'm saying when he was his last year with the Bucs.
The Bucs.
Because you had like Fitzpatrick and all these other people coming in who's able to do the same thing he's doing. I think you're right. Having the coach that's around him that has a system in place for him that works for him. He needs that discipline.
Right, because I think it's safe to say Bruce Arians' system didn't work for him.
No.
It's also safe to say it didn't work for Tom Brady the first few weeks.
Well, Tom Brady left a system that he's been in his whole career.
Right. That's
You're meeting new guys.
That's why they went to his system, and
that's
why they started. That's why they started to do a lot better. They didn't merge them. Tom Brady said, "This is what I'm going to do."
Yeah.
And this is what worked.
How they didn't merge him if he was throwing the long ball, these deep balls, killing people when he needed to?
I'm gonna just say from my own football knowledge, when your arm starts to go, the easiest thing for you to do is throw the ball, just to heave it and throw it out there.
Yeah.
You notice in the beginning of the season, a lot of those quick outs he was throwing and they was getting picked off.
But I think that's a lot of continuity too.
No, not necessarily.
You're not gonna get continuity.
A lot of those outs.
He's not. He's not. I mean,
his arm couldn't make it anymore, so they stopped throwing. They stopped throwing.
Trying
those
to throw
balls.
on one from one hash mark all the way to the other. That's a throw that's
tough to do.
You have to have a tough.
Even Tom Brady at his best didn't have the strongest arm in the league.
Right.
So at 44, 43 years old, he's not making those hash mark to hash mark throws anymore. But you don't necessarily
need those to be successful in the game.
Obviously, you don't, because they stopped doing them when they realized he couldn't do them anymore. They stopped doing them. And all he had to do is go deep every now and again to be successful.
But they were running the ball more.
Right.
Yeah.
Which Jameis, outside of what they call that dude?
Doug Martin,
the muscle hamster, whatever they called him. Yeah. Outside of him, he didn't have no running. He had no running game.
And outside of Doug Martin, that was his second year?
I think so.
It was second year in Jameis' first.
They didn't have a running game for him. So, but I say all that. I don't want to stay on Jameis. So I'm talking about the systems. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, the way it looked, with the Saints is that they kind of narrowed it down. Like I said, he didn't throw no more than 20 balls. I think as the season progresses, they'll expand that even more. Once he gets a lot more, more feet under his feet under him a little bit more with this offense, I think they'll expand it a lot more. But to pick it back on, we were saying when you surround him around talent and you have the game plan in place for him, he can be successful. So yeah, the Saints gonna make. They're not. I'm not saying that they're gonna win the division again, but they're not gonna be they're not gonna lay down for the Bucs either.
I don't
They didn't lay down last year.
No.
They didn't.
Because
They
they won the
happened to win.
division.
Yeah,
right.
We just happened to win when it counted.
Right.
When it mattered.
All right.
Let's get to this list. Man.
Let's get to this.
I gotta pull this bullshit back up. I'm sorry.
I ain't even got to pull it up.
I want to pull up. I want to see this.
USA Today Sports came out with a NFL top 100 player list. And I'm just going to give you the top 10, starting at 10. Barry Sanders at 10. 9, Johnny Unitas. 8, Peyton Manning. 7, Reggie White. 6, Joe Montana. 5, Walter Payton. 4, Jim Brown. 3, Lawrence Taylor. 2, Tom Brady. And number 1 is Jerry Rice.
Can I just say one thing? I'm going to leave the table to y'all. Okay. My feelings about greatest football player.
I don't know what they're basing this on.
I think it's subjective.
Very.
Highly subjective because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of quarterbacks that I don't consider football players. We all came from the same era playing for the most part. We used a little bit ahead. When we played football, to me, a football player is somebody you can put on the field and be like, hey, man, I need you to do this, 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 and this. If somebody goes down, I need you to do that job too. I make, like, for example, B, you played, what was your primary position in high school?
Defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle. If they came to you and say, hey, B, we need you to play guard, dog. Our guard went down. Could you do it?
Yeah. I was
just said, B, we down both tight ends. Could you get out there on the edge and maybe run an out or two if we need you to?
I could.
Say you played offense, right? You were receiver. Mm-hmm. But they said, man, we need you to get in the backfield. Our running backs are down, bro. We need you to take a couple snaps to running back. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Could you do the same thing if a quarterback goes down?
Yeah, you just
don't matter. You're a football player.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna then get the snap, right?
Right. Yeah.
Same thing with me. I was a defensive back. I played free safety and corner. Coach came to me one day. Was like, I think I had an interception against Robinson. He was like, hey, Chuck, we can look at you at running back. No, you don't. I'm not playing that shit anymore. But the fact is, if you needed me to, I can go do it.
Right.
There's several quarterbacks that we talk about over time that they can't do nothing else but play quarterback. So it's tough for me to put a quarterback on my list of greatest football players of all time. With that being said, there's no fucking way. Excuse me, mama, because I know my mama knows I have the pocket. Ain't no fucking way Tom Brady is the second best football player of all time.
That's true.
I'm done talking.
That's true.
For this moment.
Amen.
Shannon, go ahead.
Amen.
Go ahead, Shannon. Time on it.
Look, I'm not going to even go there. I'm thinking they're maybe basing it off of just accolades.
Got to be.
If that's the case, if you're basing them off accolades, he checks those boxes.
If that's the case, then Bill Russell is the greatest basketball player of all time.
People make that argument.
And right behind him is Sam Jones and Robert Ory.
Look.
Because Robert Ory got how many rings?
6 or
Does
7.
he even come into the discussion of
greatest player?
He greatest clutch.
Big Shot Bob?
Big Shot Bob is one of the most clutch don't mean shit to me. That don't consider that. What are we talking about? He's clutch. I don't consider him one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
Nobody's saying he's one of the greatest.
No. He can be clutch.
The statements were he's one of the most clutch basketball players.
But that ain't what we're talking about.
Okay, all right. So let's take it to football because you said what you said, right? You don't consider some quarterbacks to be great football players. Is that accurate?
In my own personal opinion.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Because I'm going to give you my opinion.
Go ahead.
Shannon Sharp, because when it first caught my eye, that's why I think when you talk about it. Shannon Sharp said he doesn't disagree with the top 3. He has a different order. And I agree with Shannon Sharp's order and his reasoning. Maybe not. Okay, so Jerry Rice. To me, Jerry Rice is probably arguably the best football player ever.
No.
It can be argued.
And it can be argued. Okay. The reason is Jerry Rice is first in a lot of stats when it comes to receiving stats.
A lot of folks is not even close.
And second and third is not even close.
And he played in a league that was
a run first league. Outside of his first season where he had a lot of drops and people was like, I don't know about him. Jerry said, bump this. He worked his ass off and he became the greatest wide receiver to ever play.
Jerry's not in question at all.
Jerry's not even in question. He's the most athletic wide receiver.
Right.
He's in, but
he's
football player.
He's not my number one.
Football player. He's hands down one of the best.
One of the best.
LT.
That's number one.
And I don't. Jerry Rice and LT, you can flip. For me, you can flip him.
LT changed the game.
LT changed the game
rules.
to win defensive rookie of the year and MVP.
LT's another one that I know you on this outside, but if we need you to line up somewhere else and do something else for us,
he changed the way they play offense.
Exactly. Tom Brady at 3, I'm okay with that. My reasoning is, like we talked about last show, longevity. Tom Brady, he may not be leading in a bunch of stats, but he's not far behind some of these guys. Yes, longevity plays into that. But when you say quarterbacks, you don't consider them to be athletes. Somebody has to play the position. Somebody has to play that position at a high level in order for your team to win. Even if it's just for okay. All right. I get it. I get it. I understand it. But the skill of kicking is not.
You're right, Dak.
LT was responsible for tackles getting cold paid.
I understand. Right. I know. And we're not talking about LT and Jerry Rice, 1 or 2, 1A, 1B. No argument there. We're talking about quarterbacks. We're disputing your assumption that quarterbacks can't be.
Okay, let's just talk about Tom Brady specifically. Okay, not just quarterbacks. Let's talk about Tom specifically as a football player. Okay, like I said last week, I take nothing away from Tom Brady's accolades or whatever that he's been able to accomplish in this league. However, like we asked you last week, if I'm starting a team of all the quarterbacks of all time, which you didn't even pick Tom Brady, I'm not taking Tom Brady over there's several players I'm going to take over Tom Brady if I'm starting my team.
I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. That's the only person I'm taking over Tom Brady.
You never heard anybody say, man, I wish I had Tom Brady's arm. Or Tom Brady.
Once again, you talk about that skill set. It's much more than just being able to throw a ball through a PI.
It's
football IQ.
When I talk about the best football players of all time, we talking about skill set. Skill set is first on the list.
That's first on your list,
right?
Should be first on everybody's list. We're talking about the greatest
quarterback.
Of all time.
So once again, skill set. A quarterback has to have a skill set.
I'm not saying
he also got Tom Brady we said this last. Tom Brady has been in the best situations all his whole career.
So you can be in the best situations all you want. You still have to produce in those situations.
So you know what?
You put Tom Brady on the Jets.
Somebody did.
Tom Brady win.
They had another quarterback who did produce in that situation when Tom went down.
What happened to him? When he went to another team.
Exactly. When he went to a different system.
But Tom Brady went to a different team. What happened?
And just like we said earlier, that wasn't working out until we switched it up, went back to Tom's system.
But Tom Brady came real.
When Tom went down,
so what you're saying?
When Tom went down the year before that, they were 11-5. If I'm not mistaken. Matt Castle comes in. What was game 1 when Tom went down? They went 11-5 again. Okay.
Did they make the playoffs?
I don't give a shit about that.
What you mean you don't give a shit about
that? They were still 11-5. So they were 11-5 the year before. When Tom went down, they went 11-5 again.
So wait a minute. No. So if Tom Brady plays that year and they go
11-5,
do they make the playoffs though? In your opinion, is Tom Brady the difference between them going 11-5 and missing the playoffs or going 11-5 and making the playoffs?
No, it was the situation around them.
It was the situation at hand.
It was the records around. It was other teams. Put Tom Brady on the Jets. Do he win?
Like I told,
not a lot of quarterbacks win on the Jets.
That's what I'm saying.
Tom Brady's
in the best situation.
Tom Brady also lost.
That same quarterback you said went to a different system, and what happened? He didn't go to a bad situation. He didn't go to the Jets.
He wasn't as successful.
The Jets is a horrible situation.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you like I told y'all last week.
You still gotta be able to. You still have to be able to produce something.
I know what you're saying, but you proved my point because when he left that system, Matt Castle was trash.
I'm gonna tell y'all.
He was 11-5.
I'm gonna tell y'all.
He was 11-5 when he took over for Tom Brady.
I'm gonna tell you guys like I said last week.
He left. Tom Brady
was
left
trash.
His organization.
Y'all can have this. Shannon, I'll back you up if need be. But I ain't talking to these fools about this shit no more, man.
I'm gonna get off Tom. I already see what I'm
saying is we can't.
Y'all got
Tom can't be number 3 in that list.
Even when he wasn't with the Bucks. Tom
Y'all
Brady
y'all
was.
wouldn't be fighting
He
for him
was.
so hard.
No, I'm not. I just hate when you have a true bias and it shows about everything when his name is coming up. That's the only issue.
I don't have
I
to
have.
bias. I'm just keeping it. I'm keeping it
That-
real
it's
from
a
my
bias.
own football
So
knowledge.
even like we said last week, before he came to the Bucks, was he not one of the best NFL quarterbacks of all time? One of the best NFL quarterbacks,
He's one
not
of the
running back,
successful.
not football player. We're talking about
just a
quarterback.
quarterback.
Okay. So when he gets here and comes down here and does what he did and wins, does that not like edge him up when it comes to NFL quarterback?
No, 'cause he was in a
Okay.
great. He came down to another
He
great
came
situation.
to a loaded team.
He came to a great
Okay.
situation.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why he
Let me
chose
ask
to
you
come
this.
here.
So Tom
Let me ask you
Brady,
this.
so
So
Tom
I'ma
he could be in
give
the
you-
top 10 as far as you're concerned.
As far as greatest football players of
on
all
the list,
time.
should he even be in the top
No,
10?
he's not on my top 10.
Okay.
So what y'all telling me is
Okay.
that so Tom Brady is a better football player than Walter Payton.
No,
I'm not saying that.
He's well, wait, I'm asking him because Tom Brady was number 3 on his list. So Tom Brady's a better football player than Walter Payton.
You
No.
saying this is subjective.
Reggie White.
no.
Could Reggie White play
Barry
quarterback?
Sanders.
Can Reggie
No.
White
Can
play
Reggie White
quarterback?
play quarterback?
Can-
I'm
that's
asking
the
you the
question.
same
Can
thing
he
you
play
asked
quarterback?
us.
No,
Could
he
he
can't.
play
Can
quarterback?
Tom
Okay,
Brady
but
rush
So
the
that
passer?
doesn't deflect
But we're
that
not
he's
breaking
not
it.
a
We're
great
not breaking it
player.
down by position. We talking about
That's
football
how you
player.
were doing just now.
No, we're talking about
You
football
said
player.
all around. If you need him to play somewhere, you went around this whole table and said, "B, you played. Where did you play? Could you?"
Okay,
do
so
this?
if
So
you
I'm
ask
asking you this.
if they asked Reggie White to go inside, could he do it?
Go what? Play guard or play tackle or something like that? Yeah, he could.
Yeah, he could do it.
But
If he needed to stand up, if he needed to stand up, could he
I'm
do
gonna
it?
tell you like this. I ain't getting in this with
Yeah,
y'all.
What other position on the
Because
field?
it don't matter. It don't
What
matter.
other position
Whatever
can
we
Tom Brady
say,
play on
whatever
court?
we
Is it
say,
on court?
whatever our opinion is, it's Tom Brady.
No,
So let me ask you this.
So-
we can
Hold
have
on,
we can
hold on,
we
let
can
me
have
ask you
our
this.
own
Let me ask you this.
opinions.
So is Joe Montana better than Tom Brady?
Yes.
I think so.
What?
Right.
Okay,
think so.
yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a wrap.
Do y'all
That's
have
it.
another topic? Is
That's
that
it.
you're gonna lose
That's
me if you
it.
say Joe Montana is better
Yes,
than him?
he
Oh
is.
wow!
Yeah,
And you
okay.
saying that?
And Peyton Manning's better than Tom Brady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when Peyton Manning went
Peyton
down,
Manning-
when
Okay.
Peyton Manning went down, the
Look at
Colts
the
were 2-14 when Peyton Manning went down.
Peyton Manning is better than Tom Brady.
They went
Well,
2-14.
Well, guess who replaced Tom
Peyton
Brady?
Manning better than Tom Brady?
An
Peyton Manning
athlete
is better
replaced
than
Tom
Tom Brady.
Brady. An athlete replaced Tom Brady in New England, and they didn't have any success.
If Peyton Manning is prime
I know
come
we're
to
not-
Tampa
I know
last
we're
year,
not comparing
he's
Tom
the way Tom Brady is.
I'm just putting that in. You're saying an
Peyton
athlete
Manning
play
in his
away.
prime, Tom
Can't
Brady in his
win.
prime, come to Tampa Bay last year. They gonna win the Super
I'm
Bowl because
Yeah.
to me they're on that level. What separates Tom Brady and Peyton Manning for me is who won more championships, who
And I
won
will
more
always
MVPs,
give
and
him
I'll
that
always go
edge.
to the man
I
who
will
won
give
more
him that
championships.
edge.
So,
Absolutely.
but that's what I'm saying.
I can't. My thing is, I can't put him on this list because he won a bunch of championships.
I
Well, he
understand.
ain't gonna be on your list, but he would be
I
on.
know.
a
He's
lot of
on
people's
it.
list.
He's just not in the top 3.
Okay, and that's it. It's
He in the
subjective.
top 15. He ain't better than Deion.
Deion Sanders, Tom Brady's a better football player than Deion Sanders.
Absolutely not.
No.
Deion is 16. You have him at 3.
I said I can
can
argue him.
understand.
I can argue him
Yeah.
at 3. Him at 3, him at 1 or 2, absolutely not.
They got Ronnie Lott at 13.
I
Tom
mean,
Brady ain't a better
really?
football player than Ronnie
Really?
Lott.
Can Ronnie Lott play now? Can Ronnie Lott play in today's NFL?
Could he have played for as long?
In his prime?
Could Tom Brady
Yes.
play
Could
in the
Ronnie Lott
80s?
play in the NFL in his prime?
Yes.
Could
You
Tom
think so?
Brady play in
The
the
way
80s?
the way the rules are set up now, Ronnie Lott could play
He
football.
He's not
survive.
taking
He'll
nobody's
be-
head off like he was before, but
Right,
can
but
he
that's
not
what he's
adjust to the
saying.
game?
That's exactly it. He plays smash nose. He would not survive in today's NFL.
So will Tom
He's
Brady
gonna do
survive?
just like your boy
So will
did
Tom
for
Brady
his
survive in
dad.
that NFL?
Absolutely.
No, he wouldn't.
Because they're gonna run the ball more, and he ain't got to do nothing.
No, he wouldn't.
Tom Brady sees
Okay.
ghosts when he
Tom Brady
gets
better
pressure
than Brett
right
Favre?
now.
Quarterback?
Yes.
Yep.
Better
Yep.
than John Elway?
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Damn,
I put him
boy.
up against him too. Yep.
He's better
Tom
football,
Brady.
he's a
Now-
better
now-
football player
now-
than Emmitt Smith.
If you want, absolutely,
I wish he had another uniform on. They
absolutely.
wouldn't say none of this. If he
The
had
only way
another
y'all
uniform
will
on.
agree with this is if he played at Florida State. That's
No,
the only
no.
way he'll fit on
If-
your
if-
list.
I don't
That's-
look.
that's
Like I told y'all last time, I look at longevity, I look at championships, I look at stats, I look at everything. It's not just a skill set.
But that's
So
And
so
the championship's a team, though.
okay.
But what-
Somebody has to lead that
Somebody
team
gotta
though,
lead him.
you
They're
get
not
way
gonna
too
win
much
it.
credit for that. So,
Yeah.
and he gets way.
Oh,
and-
wow.
and-
so does Trent Dilfer get all the credit from Baltimore 1 and 2?
no, but Trent Dilfer played a part. Did Trent Dilfer not play his part in
yeah, he
winning that
played a part,
championship?
but nobody says that Trent
Trent
Dilfer
Dilfer
won a
was
Super
great
Bowl.
for winning
Nobody
the Super
says
Bowl.
that.
But nobody says Trent Dilfer did not help them win. If they had anybody else on that
Right.
team,
We're not saying Tom Brady didn't help. We're saying y'all giving him too much credit for winning. seven
nobody's
Super Bowls.
giving him too
because
much
he
credit.
also lost to a
If we
backup in the Super
if we
Bowl.
go back and look at the show when we was talking about the Super Bowl run last year, I gave all the credit to the defense. I gave all the credit to the running game.
Yeah.
I gave all the credit to
at
the
the same
offense.
time-
I
You
gave
mad at
all the
media
credit.
for giving it to him because not everybody gave it all to him. I agree with you. He came to a team that was ready,
Right.
but it couldn't take just any quarterback getting back there. We know that couldn't happen that way.
Why not?
Okay.
It happened in
Well,
Baltimore.
Yeah. Okay. We
You
gonna
got- you
go
got
on
anything
to the
else, Ed?
I
next.
said, I'm gonna say this.
On to the next.
Tom-
On to the next.
You got anything else?
Tom lost to a backup in the Super Bowl and lost to the other Manning brother twice.
But how many times has he been there?
Who
He's
cares?
been there more than all the people you talking
Who
about.
cares?
He's been there more than all the people you talking about.
He's been there, or his teams have been there.
He's led his teams there. So put it how you want to.
Championships are won by organizations,
Okay.
That's true.
Let's see
Okay.
what
not by
organization-
individuals.
Okay.
Did his organization do anything last season following since he left?
Solomon, go ahead.
So the 30
hold on.
31 other ones didn't either.
Solomon, go ahead.
He can
Solomon,
choose
you.
a side. Next to the Browns. Next to the next.
The Bucks are the worst in sports history.
Next to the
Yeah,
Browns.
for them
Next to the
years?
Browns,
Worse than the
yes.
Browns.
They was
But for the last 6 years, the Browns were winning when the Bucks was over here floundering,
So
bro.
now are we putting together down that Tom gets all the credit?
We're not giving.
When nobody said
all
Tom
the
gave all the
but we ain't
credit.
gonna
What it
let you
sound like.
take
But we
it
not
away
we not
from
gonna
him
let
and
you
not
act like
give
he
you-
didn't play a
don't
part.
discount it, yeah.
Yo
not gonna
ho
discredit him.
ho, where's the bucket?
And those 6 Super Bowls in New England, so many teams built around him on offense.
And
First
they
of all-
ain't got no first rounders.
First of all, I'm 45 years old. I can't tell you nobody played last year. That's number one.
There was 2 constants in those New England runs.
Who was it?
Belichick and Brady.
So who gets the credit?
Obviously, the person who won one without the other.
I would give it to him. He does get the nod. 'Cause-
Hey.
Y'all
That's it.
Tom Brady drunk.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Y'all are.
When
Oh,
Tom Brady
wow.
drunk.
Can I take your own point you made earlier in the show? You said Jameis is going to be successful in New Orleans because he had a running back in Kamara, he has a dominant offensive line, and when Michael Thomas comes back, he's going to have a receiving corps. You said that was the same thing he had at Florida State. Stud running back, a defense that protected him against his turnovers in the head. If you give Tom Brady, that wouldn't even be a question. If Jameis needs all
No,
that
because
to be
that's what they gave Tom Brady when he got to Tampa Bay. Is that not what
successful,
they gave Tom Brady when he came to Tampa Bay?
You and I could have won a championship in Florida State 2013.
Could you and I have won a championship in Tampa Bay last year?
Probably not.
So Tampa didn't give him the exact same things you just described. They didn't give him a stud defense.
The offensive
They
line.
didn't give him stud running
The
back.
offensive other than the offensive line. Because they got their ass. Not the offensive line. The
The
deep
only person they changed on defense was the addition of Antoine Winfield.
and the only thing then thank God Tristan Wirfs ended up being a very good rookie offensive tackle. Because if he was trash, the offensive line don't play like they play.
So if he's trash, do they win?
Probably not.
Y'all have Tom Brady. What you mean?
But
What you mean? If he's just said a minute ago,
So-
you can't name nobody else on the
So-
other team Tom Brady played on. If they didn't have worse,
So-
we should still win the Super Bowl, right?
But you just threw back in my face. If they had if the rookie offensive tackle didn't play as good, do they have win? But they got Tom Brady. So if the
Because that's
deep-
y'all's argument.
if-
is that Tom?
You said
we.
I installed me on your own with this one.
He's on his own.
You on
for
your own
sure.
with this one.
Hold on.
You on your own with this
The
one.
Buccaneers had more rushing yards in 2019 than they did in 2020. And if I'm wrong, I'll walk out of here and say, by everybody. They had more rushing yards in 2019 than they had in 20. Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber had more yards rushing than Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette.
Okay, did Jameis throwing for 5,100 yards have anything to do with opening up lanes for the running game? I mean, because if you don't throw, because that running game don't mean shit if you can't do nothing in the passing game.
You can't run the ball when you're throwing 30 interceptions.
Well, obviously they could.
When you're
Obviously,
throwing-
no.
when you're throwing from behind-
Obviously they
when you're throwing
could.
from behind, you have to pass
If they had more rushing yards that year than this year, obviously they could run the game when you throw 30 interceptions because they ran for more yards in 2019 than they did in 2020.
They had longer runs on attempts. At some point, we played against the Saints last year and ran the ball 3 times in the entire game.
Let me get back to
Yeah,
why
let's
Tom
go
Brady's
to
not
why
number
Tom-
3 on the
yeah.
list.
Well, I mean,
Jerry Rice number 1 on the list. Jerry Rice didn't get 18,000 yards by himself. Somebody had to put the ball in his hand.
And his
So
name-
is Jerry not number 1 on the list for you?
No, I think Jim Brown is the top.
Whoa.
We ain't gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Jim Brown's overrated.
Jim Brown overrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long was he in the world?
It don't mean shit to me.
Doing the toughest league. So.
Jim Brown was running against plumbers and carpenters. That don't mean nothing to me. And I love Jim Brown.
Yeah.
But he ain't Barry Sanders. He ain't Walter Payton. He ain't even Emmitt Smith, in my opinion.
I'll put any running back up there before I
Okay.
So how do we put a quarterback? How do we put a quarterback up there if he can't be
probably
successful
low.
without somebody catching the
He
ball?
wasn't
Right?
in the top 20.
These lists are subjective. They're bullshit.
Yeah, they are.
Some of
It's
them
horseshit.
is I mean that it's
To me, like I
horseshit.
said, in my opinion, if I go back to my quarterback argument, to me, there's only a few quarterbacks that I can say were great football players. Okay, but like I said, my definition of football player is different from other people. So when I talk about football players, I think about like quarterback. I think about like Steve Young, Fran Tarkenton, Air McNair, Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick. Those were football players because to me, if they couldn't play quarterback, they could play something else.
Steve Young good.
Yeah, Steve Young.
Steve,
If they told Steve Young to get in that backfield and play running back, he could do it.
Yeah, nah, I'm a pass on that one. A pass on that.
Solomon, sit down.
Yeah,
Sit down. Taysom Hill.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate your comments.
We appreciate your comments, bro.
But that Taysom Hill got you up out of here.
Yeah. So like I was saying, my opinion of a football player is somebody that can do multiple things.
And that's why these lists are subjective.
That's why it looks
Yeah.
subjective. Because like I said, if Michael Vick had to go out and get in the slot or get in the backfield and take a handoff, he could do it. If Randall Cunningham
But
didn't
he
split out
isn't
wide, play
the
receiver,
same
he could do
person
it.
you naming, it probably ain't on none of those lists.
No, he's not.
No.
That's why I
Okay.
say. That's why I say this is my opinion.
Okay.
Because I
And
know
he's
it's
not going to be on that list for.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
he's not.
most of the athletic people that you would identify with for using by your definition probably aren't. Most of them are not.
Definitely
that
not.
list.
But my thing is, like I said, I don't. That's why it's tough
For you to put a quarterback.
for me to put a quarterback in the top
team,
five as
top
a
five.
football
I
player.
understand.
It's tough to put a quarterback in the top 5 of that list of greatest football players of all time.
But that's how, even if you ask most of those football players, they're gonna, even when you do these NFL 100, when they have to pick those players themselves, they put him in that same situation.
Yeah.
So obviously they go up against him. They understand that whole setup. So they're doing it, and that's who they're playing against.
Their thought process is a lot
It's
different than mine.
right.
Like it's different than mine.
So they're
and
not-
like I said, my opinion. This is just my opinion. This is not my thoughts and comments. Do not reflect everybody on the OG Sports Show. This is just my opinion. When I think about football players, there's a few quarterbacks that I would throw into that group as greatest football players. There's a few. There's not a whole lot.
All right, Slow, you got anything else?
That's
man?
what the lick reads.
Go ahead.
Another 2 hours.
All right, everybody. I know what time it is. It's time for What You On. This is our music segment here where we get into some classic albums pre-2005 that we want you guys to go and check out. I'm gonna hold off on you, Shannon. You won't get to go first. We usually let the
Why won't we let the guest go first?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm
okay.
sorry. I
No,
apologize.
Scott,
No, the
go
guest
first.
goes
I want to
first.
see the format. Please,
You wanna see-
go ahead.
okay,
Yeah,
go
let me
ahead.
see your
Oh, okay.
format and your rationale.
We'll let the OS of the OGs go first.
All right. My album takes me back to 1988, 89-ish.
Yeah.
Senior year in high school. Y'all was in elementary.
Hold on. What was the
I'm
name?
old school now.
What was the name of y'all
I was
y'all
in middle
group?
school
Y'all
in
lip
88.
singing group?
Popular Demand.
Popular Demand. This is the Popular Demand days.
Yeah. What's towards the end.
Popular Demand.
But this group, they don't get a lot of respect in the rap game for the lyrics and everything, but they brought a niche to the rap game, which is the party, the fun side of the rap game, and end up kicking off a movie career. And most kids now know them by that. I remember years ago, my nephew, we riding around and I had the CD in the car. He said, "Oh, they rap." I'm like, yeah.
Sad.
Wait, you had the CD in the car?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, this is back in the day. But my album is Kid and Play Too Hype. And had some, it was a good party, nice rap album.
Kid Play ruined it for anybody light skinned, kids specifically, with a high top fade. Okay, so because that was my haircut. That was my haircut of choice. for middle school and my sophomore year of high school until I got sick of being called Eraserhead and kid. I cut the shit off. Bro. I was sick and tired.
Cut it off.
If I could grow it now, I'd grow the bitch back. But
Listen,
then
man.
I was sick of it. I'm
Listen,
tired of hearing
man.
that shit. I cut it off.
But they had some of the all-time party classics on there.
They did.
Rolling with Kid and Play.
Hey man, that Rolling with Kid and Play and that damn go-go sample.
Roll,
Yeah.
roll.
Oh yeah, all I
It was
am.
fire.
Getting
now.
funky.
Them
It's
the
a-
only two songs I
But it's some gems on the album that really didn't get a lot of love. A cut called Undercover, and which was a duo with the Real Roxanne, and
They don't know about the real Roxanne.
yeah, and Last Night, and then actually my favorite song on there is Do This My Way, which was the introduction out there with the kick step, and then we all know they went on to be chosen to do this house party franchise.
They had a
that-
good little run.
yeah, so
Good little run.
that's my album.
Okay.
all right.
So my next.
Yeah, we'll let you go next.
All right. So my album was right on the border of our cutoff date. It came out in 2005. 2005, I was a new dad.
Before December 31st.
It was. 2005 I was a new dad. You know what I'm saying? Had my other son was on the way.
Yellow
So
Jacket
this-
football.
Yeah, we was Yellow Jacket coaches at the time. You know what I'm saying? So
The bikie shorts.
it was a good time. It was a good time. Like I said, I was a new dad, newly married for a couple of years, and this was right around the time when the artist partner was locked up, and my boy was holding it down for him until he got out of jail. And my album is Bun B Trill.
Ain't mad at it.
Folks who have seen this show know that I'm a UGK fan. This is like my second or third, possibly. It's UGK referenced album that I come up with. But Bun B, to me, I love Pimp C to death. Bun B was the one who kind of
Drove it.
he drove because of his lyricism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think Bun B, in my opinion, Bun B's top 10 greatest rappers of all time. He don't get the credit. But anyway, the album was fire to me. I loved it from top to bottom, from the inauguration intro to kick it off with Jay Prince talking over the beat, and then everybody knows Draped Up. That was the song that kind of went. That was his first single that he released, and I love Draped Up because at the end, my boys say, "This is a Texas toast, so raise your glass because the whole dirty South is going to show their naked ass." I was sold at that point. Not that I wasn't already, but a lot of good cuts. I'm Fresh with Manny Fresh. Manny Fresh did a few beats on the album. I'm Fresh was one that I love. Pushing with Young Jeezy and Scarface was another good one. The story where he basically talks about how they kind of came up in the game, got some shitty deals in the beginning, and they talked about when they did Big Pimpin' with Jay-Z and how that kind of affected them. Originally, Pimp C didn't want to do it. Bun kind of convinced him to do it, and then the record label wanted him to come back and do another song with Jay-Z, and it was like, how corny is that? Like, we had one, that's enough. But it's just a really, really good album. I'm a G with T.I. was another good one. There's one that still stays in my rotation. I work out to a few of these songs, my little workout playlist. So
This album was one of the ones that was stolen out of my CD visor when my car got stolen.
and hold on, I don't mean no harm, Claude, but you got the wrong album cover.
Right, you
bro.
got Trill too.
You got two Trill up there. It's all good. We
It's
still
all
love you,
good.
brother.
Yeah.
But that's
But-
two Trill.
Yeah, this album holds some weight because it was in that visor with my $12 that got stolen and my car got damaged.
Hell of an album. bro.
It's
It's a hell of an album. Download it if you ain't got it already.
If you ain't got it. All right. Well, Shannon, what you on this week? What you got?
My throwback would be Kanye West when he was Brown Kanye.
Oh,
He was College Dropout.
Man.
That was my favorite, and it had like Through the Wire on there. So even like in both versions sound really good to me. So whether you do Lauryn Hill or Selena, it sound really good to me. Also Jesus Walks is on that one. So I kind of feel Kanye when he was old Kanye.
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
on the new Kanye like that. Me and him have little issues right now, but that was my thing.
Man, go ahead, B. I'm sorry.
No.
Before I be negative.
Yeah, before you start shitting on Kanye.
It's not on you, Shannon.
Mm-mm. I think
Anyway.
you got a theme.
His those first 3 albums, and you can probably say those first 3 albums of Kanye's were, when you talk about people who had 3 album runs, College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, those 3 you could put up there with some of the greatest 3-run albums of all time.
I'm trying to, like, in my these last few months, I've been trying to be real conscious about not tearing another black person down. Okay, I'm really trying to be good about that. But fuck Kanye.
You weren't playing Slow Jam with Twister and
I
Jamie.
I was.
Come on.
I
Okay.
was.
So-
I'm not gonna say I wasn't playing him. But fuck Kanye. Like, I don't care. He could come out with a
He says
song.
it's
He
deep
can come out.
in
He
his
can come
soul.
out with a song with Jesus and Michael Jackson, and I'm not listening to it. I'm not listening to it. Fuck
Now
Kanye.
I'm like I
Yeah,
said,
I
I'm
don't
not
deal
on
with
his
it.
new stuff. Don't
Right.
get me wrong, but that
I don't-
album to
those
me,
stuff
like
is
kind
still-
of, yeah.
I don't even want to
can
hear.
still
I don't even want to
vibe
hear
it.
his old stuff.
Man.
But I still love
Yeah,
the cut with him and Quality and Common. That's
Yeah.
my favorite song.
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Get him.
that album.
Yeah, that album, man. Was that one in the visor? That one might have been in the visor
Yeah,
too.
that was in my book. I remember running out when it dropped. I was like, yeah, I got to get to the store.
No, that one wasn't in the
bag.
visor. I had it in the CD case in the console, so they didn't get that.
But they got the whole car, didn't they?
They got the whole damn car. That bitch
So they
gone now,
got
bro.
it.
Woo. Fuck Kanye. Hey
Yeah,
man,
I'm with you on that.
I
But
But
thought-
my thing is, you can feel like that, but he's had a lot of he's contributed a lot.
So
to
was
hip-hop.
R. Kelly. So R. Kelly's had a,
you right.
Okay,
R.
yeah,
Kelly's
you
one of the
right.
greatest of all time.
You-
But
I
you
fuck
still
him
play
too.
his music
You
too.
ready?
You
You
still
right,
not.
you
I don't.
right.
I still-
I ain't playing.
I
I ain't
don't
playing
listen to
there one
Kelly
of.
right now.
I ain't playing
Yeah.
there one of.
And even like
R. Kelly for the obvious reasons.
yeah,
Kanye for the obvious reasons.
man, I'll rock Kanye old stuff.
Kanye
I
is
can't
a
even mess with R.
sucker.
Kelly old stuff at all. I don't even
Ugh.
they re-released Aaliyah's music, and because her first album has so much like so influenced by him, so heavy, I can't even listen to that. And I know
Man.
she getting mad streams, but it's a lot.
Man, I'm not gonna get on here and talk about R. Kelly because it's just obvious. But Kanye,
Why you feel that in your soul by Kanye like that? Like you feel that deep.
So
that
is
feel
it is
deep
it is it
down.
because you like I saw this musical genius and then he just
first of all, I didn't
Can't-
see. I didn't see no musical genius.
What?
That's just my opinion.
Okay,
I didn't see
yeah.
a musical genius. It could have been anybody with a platform, in my opinion. For him to use that platform to do the things that he's done the last few years
I get it.
is disgraceful.
I get it.
So, like I said, he can come out with a song featuring Jesus and Michael Jackson and Jay-Z singing the hook, and I'm not listening to it.
I get it.
Gotcha.
I understand.
That's true. I don't listen to none of his new stuff, but his old
No,
stuff.
I got
I
it.
still jam.
Well,
wanna hear his old
let me be the wet blanket here and go ahead and throw some more controversy on it. 2004 was a very good year musically. And this artist here recently, over the last, let's say, year, has some controversy. It ain't to me, it's not on the R. Kelly level yet.
Questionable.
It's questionable.
He's on the line.
Poquito.
He's on the line.
He's torn the line.
He's towing the line.
He's torn the line.
There's a difference, though. We'll get into that.
God damn it. This was his 3rd album. To me, this was the peak of his artistry. And we talking about none other than T.I., Urban Legend.
Man, let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
That goddamn motivation.
Stop.
I'm not the biggest
He
dude
was-
in the world, but that motivation made me feel like I can kill
was
anybody
encouraged.
with
You
my
better get
bare
on your
hands.
job.
With my bare
Motivation.
hands.
That ASAP.
5'9" with the soul
Soul
of
of
a
a
6'4"
6'4".
nigga.
Yeah.
Man, what? If
Thank-
motivation don't motivate you to do something, something's wrong with you.
ASAP.
ASAP. Yeah.
What?
Yes. ASAP. Man.
You don't know me. Look,
You probably see me in the streets. But
nigga, you don't know me.
Man, what?
What made this album so great was, like I said, it was the peak. For me, it was T.I.'s peak. Like his flow, the way his cadence, the way the album was put together.
T.I. I said, me and my wife had this conversation. T.I. may ride a beat better than anybody else.
Yeah. Now,
might.
when you dig deeper into this album and you look at who produced on this album,
Oh, he was
you would sit here like, there was no way this album was gonna flop. Let me give you the producers, the most known producers credited. And these are some of the top producers of the time. Pharrell, the Neptunes, David Banner, Jazzy Faye, Lil Jon, Swiss Beats, Manny Fresh,
had a whole collection.
Scott Storch might have produced the 2 worst songs on the album, but Scott Storch. And then hold on,
If you fail with that,
that's one more that probably don't even really get his due as a producer. Oh, Daz.
Oh, wow.
People who don't know music don't give Daz his credit.
Yeah.
But people who know music know that Daz produced a whole
All
lot
Eyes
of
on
All
Me.
Eyes on Me.
All Eyes on Me was
That
supposed
was
to be his
mostly him.
album.
That was mostly him.
So when you look at this list on T.I., so you put T.I.'s talent with those producers, arguably for me, is one of the best hip hop albums of all time.
It's fantastic. Let's get into the controversy.
It's almost like Illmatic, though.
Illmatic is
so. Let's get into T.I.'s controversy. We're gonna do it there. Okay. You brought it up.
him and his wife, apparently, allegedly,
Allegedly.
out here drugging young ladies and raping them. Allegedly.
That's a strong word.
They're sexually assaulting them.
Yeah, sexually.
I didn't
Allegedly.
forget about DJ Toomp. I think
DJ
that was
Toomp,
Toomp don't get the credit he deserves.
Toomp produced like 4 songs on the album. So, but that's why we say he's towing the line is recently his comments on what he says on social media.
Mm-hmm. It's
A little misogynistic.
First of all, I guess maybe it just comes to me when I was as the older I get. But I'm not looking to no celebrity for advice on nothing.
That's true.
So
that's social media.
So nobody should allow anything that he says on social media to hold any weight.
But that's
now the issue at hand is
the sexual assault,
him and his wife
allegations, right?
My only problem, I guess, with that is that T.I. and Tiny not dumb. Everybody that they've been in a situation with has signed a non-disclosure.
Yeah.
So
and that's
you made an adult decision. It ain't like it ain't like R. Kelly where he got little girls
right.
manipulating.
Right. These grown women.
These are grown women making grown women decisions.
And that's why we say towing the line.
Right. And the line ain't all that. They ain't towing it all that much because, like I said, they got adults to agree to something before they even stepped into anything. Now, they didn't like it when they got in it. That's their business. They can say that.
Right.
But you can't say that you was forced to do anything when they signed. You signed that night away.
That's why he's not fully canceled.
They can't do nothing to him.
Like R. Kelly.
Well, I mean, the controversy itself and nowadays is the damage.
Right.
Because years from now, when it goes away, nobody's going to say, hey, you know what? Apologize to T.I. We were wrong. They just going to throw out all the negatives and everything else. Right. T.I. pissed off the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you piss off the wrong person, they put a case on you. We all knew R. Kelly was a pedophile in the 90s.
And nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Nobody gave
He
a damn.
pissed off the wrong person.
He
got a case. Bill Cosby said he wanted to buy NBC. We'll put a case on him.
Is that really why he got the case put on?
I believe so.
I totally believe that.
It's controversial as it is.
So for me, that's
Deshaun Watson. Say, I don't want to play in Houston. I'm going to put a case on him.
I mean,
black man want to try to.
Why we always delve into conspiracy theories when
it's not for real.
Look, Shannon, this is your first show here.
Yeah.
Maybe you get to come back. But these two over here,
I'm gonna take responsibility for being
they dive deep into
the king of conspiracy
right.
theories.
So, like for me as a woman,
there's only certain conspiracy theories. I believe in conspiracies in sports as well as in entertainment. I believe there's conspiracies that go.
I believe
in government, and I think some in entertainment. Yeah. So for me, with the whole Bill Cosby thing, the only thing that gets me, and that's why I say it's like a conspiracy. He did want to buy CBS, so he wanted to buy it. But the fact that these women may use him as references, and he was signing up, to me, that's all suspect. And and maybe I'll take the heat as a woman, but that's the only part that gets me.
I ain't gonna defend shit Bill Cosby did.
I ain't
what I will say is Bill wasn't the only one doing what Bill did at that time in the 60s and 70s. He was not the only one. But if you're
using them as references and as a point, I need a letter. Can you
right.
That is an exchange. That's
I mean,
you do a little something for me, I do a little something for you.
It's kind of like in a lot of situations. Let's say, we all work. Unfortunately, we all work for somebody else. I'm assuming that you do. Okay. This probably been a situation where you could care less about that person that you work for, or people within the business that you work with them. But you got to play the game to get what you want within your job or whatever, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody, no, not all of us are going to sacrifice our integrity to do so.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people will.
Yeah.
A lot of people will sacrifice their integrity to get to where they want to go.
Especially in Hollywood.
But don't expect me to have sympathy for you once you use you sacrifice your integrity.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm like I said, I'm not defending him at all. I think I'm sure there was some women in that situation who were willing to sacrifice their integrity. And there were others who probably were like, I didn't sign up for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I know I'm willing to bet that he wasn't the only one.
Nah.
I know he wasn't the only one doing what he was doing at that time.
Not in Hollywood.
Absolutely not.
No.
It's in sports. I'm missing a 30 for 30 right now.
Which one? Which one?
Yeah,
On?
no.
What is that? Brooklyn, like New York, 190
Oh, the Mets. The Mets one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Man.
'Cause they
It's
was-
gonna be a 4-part series.
Okay,
was,
I gotta say.
I'm pretty sure they were doing a lot of
man.
cocaine
We
during that
know
time.
that they admitted it.
It wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't just
We
that.
gotta be
They
pretty
was
sure.
like
Yeah.
having sex during the
But
game.
they wasn't the only ones either.
But man, they probably was some wild boys. It's got Dwight Good and Daryl Strawberry. We are.
Hey man, Dwight is our home.
I understand that. Dwight was on that powder.
That's all right.
Right.
Booger, sugar.
No.
Dwight was slinging that.
Dwight still is on that power.
There you go.
While he was on that pot, he was
Oh, my
slinging
God.
that bitch.
Yeah.
He was.
We talked about LT a few minutes ago. LT was
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
Which comes back to it amazes me. How can you be a functioning cocaine head and play at a high
Let me
level
And
tell
still
you
the
why.
greatest.
You know
Outside
what
linebacker
it
of
is?
all
Like,
time.
I'm gonna tell you from a kid whose dad was on
I thought you
drugs.
was gonna say.
No, I'm gonna tell you as a kid. No, as a kid whose dad was on drugs. I used to be like, Mom, how is he getting up, going to work and doing this stuff? And you may not have known that when we were younger.
Man, I had
So,
an uncle who
But
was
my
on
mom
it
said
every
they're
day.
functioning because you got air, you got a place to stay. You ain't living on the streets. You know you got a job to do to keep up that habit, and you're gonna do it to the fullest potential so that you can go and then just binge out for as long
Man,
as
I had an
it-
uncle who worked construction
There is, yeah.
for years. Helped build part of the veterans expressway. For years, he worked construction since I was a little kid. My man functioned on all kind of stuff.
right.
My boy would drink a quart before we go play basketball and
And
wash
he
it.
out there
And
doing-
when we
D'ing
finished,
y'all up.
playing, he washing it back down with another one that was in the
Get that
trunk.
out of here.
Didn't give a damn. We was little kids. His girlfriend she used to babysit us. She would take him. He would take us places while he was at work. She'd leave him a note and 2 joints for when he came home to be relaxed when he got home.
So,
I'm 8
Yeah,
years old
functioning.
seeing this shit.
Shannon, this
Plenty
makes
of
sense.
people.
It makes sense now why that you remember that time your daddy wanted to play me in basketball and we
Right.
wanted to court Nucio.
and Nucio and went up there. I'm like, Dad, this is no.
You want
that
to play with
was
the
it.
niggas up there?
Hold on.
Nah,
No.
it
This
wasn't
one on one.
Oh.
So she's like my little sister, right? Because
Yeah.
I grew up only child. She got 2 other sisters and a brother and some more family. So I used to go
Yeah.
over there all the time.
Mhm.
Like, because I was the only kid, so I didn't really have nobody
But
to hang out with.
everybody used to be like our house.
So her daddy at the time said, "Man, I could beat you in basketball." I'm sitting there thinking to myself, Mr. Willie, you damn near 50-some years old. I play varsity basketball.
You don't
Like,
give a
they
shit
would
about
do
that.
it.
You're not gonna
Right.
beat me.
Okay.
Come on, let's go. All right, so we went up to Nucio 1-on-1.
Mhm.
I let him score the first 5 buckets. Going to 12. Shut him down. After that, he's
Are
like,
you telling the story to tell us that Mr. Willie was on cocaine? When he
"No,
Nah, but
I didn't.
that's
I
so
didn't at this
graphic
time. At
now.
this time, I did not know.
Because he would still function as normal.
I did not
Like he
know.
would cook for us. He would do all like he still functioned. People would not believe
I didn't
that.
even know.
cocaine was different.
I didn't
in the
even know.
mix.
They had they would look because now you
But-
see how many people
Yeah,
falling
it
off
was
now.
different.
They
Yeah,
starting
it's different.
fentanyl now.
But yeah, man, I
It
function.
makes sense now.
It makes sense now. He was a little crazy too, but he was right though.
Dwight was
Tell
throwing,
me on you ain't never
Look,
you ain't
my
get a
dad-
chance to
look,
meet him.
my
yet.
dad-
Dwight was
was
throwing
cool.
no hitters on that powder, bro. You know what I mean? And Daryl Strawberry was hitting 30 home runs on it. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for what you own.
The correct cover.
Appreciate
Oh, God, yeah, there you go. Way to come through.
appreciate you.
Good job, Claude. Good job. Good
A
job.
little late, but we love you anyway.
Yeah, super producer.
Super produced. All right, it's time for who you got, and this week, we're gonna pick like usual from 3 NFL games, 3 college games, and we'll recap those picks next show. So, the standings in the Pick'em King so far, it was spectacular. Which they'll probably never do this again. We went 3-3. Me and you, Slow. Guru, nephew, went 3-3. If we have a guest, we'll add them to the guest picks, and we'll keep a running tally of the guest picks.
Right.
So Shannon's picks will get rolled in with nephew's pick.
What did I go?
The shocker.
What?
Somebody went 5-1.
Let me hold on. Before we even get into it, why is me picking 5 winners a shocker?
Because
out of
listening
6?
to you on this show, I understand.
I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Why is
Listening
it
to
a
this
shocker?
show,
Why
I
is it a
know what
shocker?
I'm talking about.
Why is it a shocker?
Yeah.
Mm.
Did you ever pick like 5? Did you ever go 5-1 last year?
What they got to do with anything? We ain't.
It has everything to do.
You talking about old shit? We talking about last week. Why is it such a
brother,
shocker that I
brother,
picked
it's not
5
a
out of
shocker.
6?
You're right.
I know what the hell I'm
Okay,
talking about.
Who do we? what
So
games?
we all missed on the Titans and Cardinals.
Right.
He hit on
Everybody else.
He hit everybody else. Mainly Clemson, where we went from. He picked Clemson and he picked against Florida State. He picked Georgia
That's right.
and
He
picked
did
against
pick
Florida State.
against Florida State.
Oh, wow.
I'm so offended.
Mm.
It's a shocker that I picked
It
5
is.
winners.
Yeah.
The hell out of here. I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Go 5-1 again next week.
I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
I know football. I didn't just play or watch.
Cocky. All right. Well, this week we'll start with the NFL games here. For me, the NFL games, there's a theme to these games. So for the NFL, it is going to be redemption week. First game up, we got the Bills, who took a hard loss to the Steelers last week against the Dolphins. Shannon, who you got?
I'm the champ from last week. I'm picking last.
No, I got you. Shannon, who you got?
The Bills.
Going to Bills? Slow?
In Buffalo or Miami?
Then Miami.
Say Buffalo bounce back.
Think Buffalo bounce back. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins gonna pull off another shocker. And go 2-0. Chuck, who you got?
I'd be surprised if Buffalo didn't win just because I expected them to beat Pittsburgh and they didn't. So I'm gonna give them the edge just because of their expectations. I don't think they should go to Miami and lose. It wouldn't shock me if they did, but I'm gonna pick them to win.
I say they got a mean DB, so
Yeah. I mean, he got work last week, but we'll see. All right, next game. Vikings took a hard loss last week to the Bengals. Field goal at the end of regulation. They're playing that badass kid, Kyler Murray, and the Cardinals. It's the game is 4:00 in Arizona. Shannon, who you got?
Cards. One with the badass kid.
Chuck, I'll be slow.
Cardinals and who again? I'm sorry.
Minnesota.
The Vikings and the Cardinals. In Arizona, 4:00.
Yeah, I'm going Cardinals.
I'm going Minnesota. I'm going Minnesota. I think they're gonna bounce back. And I don't think Arizona can light it up again like they did last week against the Titans. Chuck, who you got?
Is Kirk Cousins still the quarterback in Minnesota?
Yeah.
The highly paid Kirk Cousins.
And how many points
He
did
just
they
ripped
give
him
up to the Bengals?
What was that? I think they lost the game 29-28 or something like that. It was
Picking Arizona.
Okay. Go Arizona. All right. Last game of the NFL that we will be picking between are the Titans, who got whooped by said badass kid, versus the Seahawks. It's a 4:00 game in Seattle. Shannon, who you got?
Yeah, I think it's a toss-up, but I think I'm going to rock with Seattle since they're the home team and the 12th man will be present.
All right.
And so they'll start the season off on.
Okay. 0-2 for the Titans. Slow.
Yeah.
This is one of them games. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with Seattle, but I'm gonna pick Tennessee to bounce back and upset Seattle, because Seattle usually have these games in the early season they'll lose, and I think I'm gonna go with Tennessee.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee as well. I think that loss last week was embarrassing. Mike Vrabel called out Julio Jones, and I think they're gonna turn around and get it rolling starting next week versus the Seahawks. So I got the Titans. Chuck, who you got?
I think Vrabel calling out Julio Jones was horseshit. Because he wasn't the reason why they lost the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, what did he say?
I saw a little piece of it, but I don't really remember what he said. Anyway, that was horseshit. There's no way that the Titans do not change things up and go back to running the ball against Seattle. So I think if they run the ball and control the clock, You know, since Seattle, I'm picking Tennessee to win.
All right. Okay, so that's it. So now we're going to the college games, and the theme for these college games are you a contender or a pretender? All of these games we're about to pick has a team they're the 1-0, 2-0, highly ranked, and they're playing a team that's maybe, we don't know what they are at this point. So the first game we're going to pick between is number 8 Cincinnati versus Indiana, 12 o'clock. In Indiana. Shannon, who you got?
I like Mike Penn Jr. from here, but I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. They can score.
So
I thought Indiana was going to be way better than what they've been showing. Don't know a lot about Cincinnati, unfortunately. I'm gonna go with the home team.
Indiana. I'm going with Cincinnati. Y'all know how I feel about every couple years. Cincinnati has a good squad, and they're ranked pretty high, and they're playing pretty good ball. So I'm going with Cincinnati on this one. Chuck, who you got?
I think Indiana will look better than they did last week, but I don't think they're gonna beat Cincinnati. Okay. Defense too good.
All right, next game, close to our guest heart here. You got number 24 Miami taking on Michigan State. Mel Tucker, black man at Michigan State, got the Michigan State Spartans 2-0.
Yeah,
We're gonna find out if they are contenders. We're gonna find out if Miami are pretenders.
So,
Shannon, who you got?
Both of them are pretenders, if you ask me.
Oh,
If I was betting like for points, I would take whoever is the underdog. But yeah, I haven't seen much from either. I still go with my home team. We playing home in the Heat, and it's nice.
It's a 12 o'clock game, so it's gonna be
hot.
hot.
So I'm gonna roll with them.
They ain't really at home though.
It don't matter.
They ain't got no home stadium. But anyway.
Well, y'all get beaten, y'all, so it's somebody else home anyway.
We do badly. We do.
Slow. See this one. Who you got? This guy, man. God damn.
Opening up wounds.
Ain't taking nowhere. That shit was done.
Yeah.
Hour and a half ago.
Y'all know that if my attitude didn't change by Florida State, I wouldn't be saying this shit. I know we suck, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Kane.
I'm going to black man. Mel Tucker, Michigan State. I think he's gonna go down there and get him a win, go 3-0.
Mel Tucker look like somebody's daddy.
He do.
His name is Mel Tucker.
Yeah,
that's his daddy name.
Yeah.
Melvin.
Yeah, he got
daddy name right.
Melvin James Tucker. I don't know what his middle name is.
It don't matter. It don't matter. Melvin Tucker is his daddy name. I'm with you, B. I'm not picking Miami to win nothing.
I didn't expect.
I like Mel Tucker in Michigan State. And it ain't really no upset. Even though it should be an upset, should be considered one because Miami should not lose to Michigan State, but they will.
But it could be because we talk about how some schools flounder. Michigan State are those teams that they never really end. So I'm pulling for.
It's a weird matchup though.
It is.
But I didn't even see Michigan State play. I'm picking them to win.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right. So the last game, which I think is probably the best game. There's another game, Florida and Alabama. We already know how it's going to turn out. We won't have to pick from that.
That's this week?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. What, night game?
I think so.
Okay.
They should be at the 3 o'clock.
It might be a 4 o'clock game, I think. It might be a 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock game.
Okay.
The ESPN game is number 22 Auburn versus number 10 Penn State. Auburn hasn't. The first two teams that they played, they kind of rolled through them and did what they did. Penn State held on against the first Wisconsin. Defense stepped up. Offense stepped up the following game. They put more points, but that defense, Penn State is playing championship defense right now.
Yeah.
So, Auburn, Penn State, Shannon, who you got?
I want to say Penn State, but I'm gonna go with Auburn just because when Auburn's had an opportunity to play those outside the SEC, they tend to do a little bit better. So I'm gonna roll with Auburn.
Slow.
Shannon has a good point, but I'm gonna go with
They are in Happy Valley. Right? They Happy Valley, 7:30.
And I think it's gonna be white out. Yeah. I'm going with the Nittany Lions, but she got a great point. They play better outside the conference than they do inside the conference. But I think Penn State will win in a slug, ugly.
I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be ugly and low scoring. With that said, I'm gonna roll with the other black man, John Franklin.
He light skinned though.
Hey, man.
We count. Both my parents black.
I just think I think right now, Penn State they're out to prove a point, and they are playing very good defense. So I'm rolling with Penn State on this one. Chuck, who you got?
I'm gonna roll with Penn State too. Like I said, it's in Happy Valley. It's a whiteout game. That crowd gonna be ridiculous. And that which is only gonna help Penn State's defense.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take Penn State. I think it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be a slugfest, but I think in the end,
It's gonna be
I'll give Penn State maybe 10 points in the win.
a fumble return, something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be Auburn's gonna make a couple of
Mistake,
mistakes to lose the game for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tune in next show to see how these picks turned out. And that's gonna do it for.
We'll see if I know what I'm talking about.
We're going to see. We are going to see.
You wear the crown.
Such
Next
a-
week you
such
go
a-
5-1 again.
You go 5-1 again. You dog. I give you all the props.
So I got to prove myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Florida State.
Just like you said that
Like Florida State.
Tom
Florida
Brady-
State could beat. Florida State could beat
Tom Brady
Wisconsin.
wins one more Super Bowl than he's the greatest.
He's the greatest
Yeah,
quarterback.
he's the greatest
He win one more
quarterback
Super Bowl. He's the greatest quarterback of all time.
Ever.
Of all time.
So I gotta
He
go
do
five-
it again?
I gotta go 5.
Yes.
10-2.
Your old ass gotta go 10-2. And I'd be like, you know what? You got it.
Say what I normally say.
You don't want to say
Tom
it.
Brady.
Fuck Tom Brady.
That's gonna do it for
And
who you
Tebow.
got.
We ain't talking about that.
Yeah. And his
It's
mom.
always Tim Tebow.
And his mom.
Whoa.
All right. As always, we end our show with Who's That Lady? And this week, I've chosen to go back to track and field / basketball.
Very small guy.
Very small, but it was
It was there.
there. And that young lady is Jackie Joyner Kirsten. Jackie Joyner Kirsten was born March 3rd, 1962 in East St. Louis, Illinois.
Pisces.
As a high school athlete, in her senior year, she qualified for the long jump finals in the Olympic trials in 1980. She finished 8th, however, behind another high schooler you guys may know, Carl Lewis. After that, she went on to UCLA, where she was both a basketball and a track and field star. She won what is now known as the Honda Sports Award as the nation's top female collegiate track and field competitor in '83. Then in '85, she won the award for the best female collegiate athlete, period. At that time, she was also a 3-year starter from '81 to '83 for the basketball team. She redshirted her '84 season so she can focus on the Olympics, where she did go on to win a silver medal, by the way. And then she returned to the basketball team for her senior season, where she averaged 13 points and 9 rebounds. She did some work. She wasn't just playing basketball.
Right.
She did some work. She was a 3-year starter, by the way, as well. Like I stated, she won the silver medal in heptathlon at the '84 Olympics. From there, she went on to win 2 gold medals in '88, one in the heptathlon and one in the long jump. And then she successfully defended her heptathlon gold in '92 as well. In 1988, she established the Jackie Joyner Kirsten Foundation, which provides youth, adults, and families as well with athletic lessons and resources to improve the quality of life, with special attention to her hometown of East St. Louis. She currently sits on the board of directors of USA Track and Field, where she still is involved in the game to this day. So from the OG Sports Show, we want to give to arguably one of the greatest female athletes of all time, Jackie Joyner Kirsten, her flowers. We salute her, and we wish her much success going forward with track and field, and hope she's still allowed to be an influence on the game. Salute Jackie Joyner from OG Sports Show. We love you. We appreciate you, everything you contributed to not just the game, but just to Black families as a whole with your foundation. So that's it, fellas. Week 18, Shannon. We truly appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
Great.
Enjoyed
dynamic.
your commentary.
Hope you had a good time.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
No hard feelings about the Tom Brady or Miami.
Nah, I'm not that sensitive.
Okay.
I'm not that sensitive about it.
Good. Check out Shannon and her husband
Yes.
on His and Hers and Ours podcast when you get a chance. Hopefully they give us the same shout out on their next show.
Look,
Where to catch your
you can
podcast
catch,
on?
We're on Full Higher Radio, but you can catch it. The podcast is on every platform. So it's
Okay.
on Apple. We go live on the weekends on Facebook, so we're streaming on there. But yeah,
And our producer, I'm sure, will put y'all's information in our bio or in the comments of our today's show. So again, like I said, check out their podcast when you get a chance.
We'll have to have y'all on. Yeah, it's interesting conversation.
For sure.
I mean,
Y'all talk about
some relationships and just some general stuff. Yeah. So
we've all been in relationships
and all of that. Yeah.
we married.
18 years married, proud. Me and my wife just spent a couple days at the beach to celebrate our 18 years.
Be five for me.
All right.
The O's are the OG. You know.
Yeah, you was like Solomon. Y'all started late with Sharon. So
whatever. Man,
It started early.
Live my life.
I gotta get these kids out while I still got some energy. You know what I'm saying? But that's it, man. We appreciate you. Excuse me.
Oh my God.
Appreciate y'all joining us.
Whoa.
One love for the OG Sports Show. We'll see y'all soon.
Word up.
Peace out.
Leap Pod Greater.